Thank you. Good morning. My name is Harlee Sorkin. I'm the CEO of InterShunt Technologies. We are a transcatheter cardiac device working on the problem of heart failure. Now, the problem of heart failure is very complex. It has frustrated physicians. It has frustrated patients for a long time. In addition, it's the #1 cause of hospitalization among the elderly. It accounts for 5% of all healthcare spending in the US. So this is the single greatest unmet medical need. So when we talk about big problems, this one is the granddaddy of them all. More importantly, for about half of these patients, the HFpEF patients, they have no effective medical therapies, and that creates some great challenges. So when we look at this market, there's about 6.2 million Americans. We are initially targeting those HFpEF patients who don't have effective therapies. As we look at disease progression, we feel that our effective range is patients that are class 2 heart failure, meaning they cannot or they get winded when climbing stairs, up through ambulatory class 4 patients who cross a room and become winded. Specifically, those class 3 patients is where we really think we can make an impact and have impact on these patients and restore their quality of life. And so when we look at that population, it's currently more than 500,000 patients in the US, and it's growing by more than 10% annually. Now, with heart failure, the common hallmark of all heart failure is elevated left atrial pressure. This is the bottleneck within the heart. Blood backs up to the lungs, and at that point, we have pulmonary congestion, and that's when the patients end up being short of breath. They can't breathe. So even though it's a heart issue, they feel it in their lungs. This solution is this idea of interatrial shunting, meaning a small opening is created between the left and right atria of the heart through the septum, and that high pressure in the left atria is allowed to check off onto the right side. This is a very hot area of development. It's already attracted more than $250 million of funding, both venture funding and strategic funding. All major strategics in the structural heart space have activities in this space. And at this point in time, we have over 1,100 humans who have had interatrial shunting devices implanted. Now, we love this idea of shunting. One of the problems that we see is that the first generation devices use permanent device implants. They're stent-like implants. And so we asked ourselves the question, can we achieve similar or even better outcomes by not leaving anything behind, but instead by cutting and removing tissue? And that's what our device does. So we leverage common interventional techniques, femoral vein approach on an existing 035 guide wire. We deliver our catheter to the heart on the right side from the IVC, and what we do is we collapse our catheter, so we try not to disturb the septum, and we cross at a low profile. At this point, we have our distal capture mechanism is in the left side of the heart, and we expand. This creates a vice grip, and what we do is we advance the right side to the right side of the septum, we retract the left side to the left side of the septum, and at that point we have the tissue that we want to excise securely captured. The silver leading edge of that device is a blade, so mechanically we cut, and the act of cutting also captures that tissue. It's extracted, and at that point we have a functional shunt that allows that decompression of the left atrium. Importantly, no introduction of energy, like RF energy, no leaving behind an implant. We're totally implant free. There's some very clear clinical advantages to this. As we look at this, leaving nothing behind means there's nothing to manage, no patient compliance, no need for long-term medical therapies. Importantly, with this patient population, we leave the septum largely intact, and there's no device blocking access to the left side where these patients have a high need for continued left-sided access. And also, at a later date, we could enlarge that opening, or we could even close that opening if that was determined necessary. So the clinical is the bedrock of our advantages. We are pursuing a direct to de novo pathway. We feel this is the fastest path to a heart failure claim. And on the commercial side, the attractive nature of this is that we feel we can open interatrial shunting to the broadest patient population possible. Equally important, our device is designed for ease of use so it can be deployed broadly in cath labs. The system itself is at a fairly advanced stage of prototyping. It's a 2-part system, a steerable sheath, and the delivery catheter that locks together. At this point in time, we have completed our preclinical efforts. We've done extensive preclinical work to show that we have, the ability to create the shunt that we want, to do it in a repeatable fashion, and as well to generate our long-term clinical data. There's also a question of, if you do this in a human without leaving a device inside to open that septum and maintain that, will it remain durable? We have surgically created shunts using an aortic punch to create a shunt the same size and shape as ours when cut, and we've followed patients for up to 6 months to demonstrate that they are durable in a human heart failure population. From an IP standpoint, we start with FTO. We're not aware of anything that could block our approach. That's 2 opinions and 4 searches. On our blocking side, we have 4 issued patents with broad method and device claims. During the time of the pandemic, some of the things we've accomplished, we've closed a small venture round. We've added 3 industry execs to our board that I'll get to in a minute, and established a facility in Minneapolis area. On the product development, we've completed 3 cycles of our concept phase. We've completed 3 cycles of our feasibility phase, and we're now in the initial cycle of our development where we translate from animals to human. On the ClinReg side, we have completed the preclinical testing, and we're in the process of doing human cadaver work. In fact, that's happening today. And refined our de novo plan. And then on the commercial side, we have entered into a strategic research agreement. We've gotten 2 additional IP grants and completed some general cardiology market surveys to understand our call points when we take this to market. We are currently, to the column immediately left of the red column, completing that this summer, where we will have the completion of all of our preclinical work. At that point, we'll be raising a $15 million Series A. The main outcomes of that are to translate our device for human use, complete the first in human, and then obtain our IDE approval for a pivotal study. Upon completion, the clinical opportunity, or the commercial opportunity, the initial target market will be over 750,000 people at that point in time. We'll have a single-use device. Our estimated selling price will be greater than $10,000, and right now our projected cost of goods sold is below $1,000, so a high gross margin. Our call point will be interventional cardiologist and electrophysiologist, and then with very attractive healthcare economics to move this forward. Our team is led by individuals that have a history of transcatheter cardiac device expertise. Added to our board, Dennis Harrington, Jim Bullock, and Dave Adair as well. We have a scientific advisory board, world-class KOLs in the fields of heart failure, interventional cardiology, as well as electrophysiology. And to recap, $15 million Series A this fall. We believe we're in a rapidly emerging field. We've got an elegant approach and already mitigated some of the key risks. We think we can capture all of the economic upside of the implant devices with a more capital-efficient program. So thank you. We appreciate your time. My email and phone are on here, and I'll be in the speaker breakout room afterwards. Appreciate it.